All right, let's dive into one of the most explosive plays in English drama, Christopher Marlowe's Edward II. Now, this is a story about a king whose personal obsession with one man, well, it becomes a total public catastrophe. We're talking civil war, betrayal, and a downfall so brutal it's honestly still shocking even today, centuries later. So the play just ignites right from the very first scene. The king's favorite, Piers Gaveston, he's back from exile, and his first words, they basically tell you everything you need to know. He cares only for the king. But here's the kicker, and Marlowe was so clever with this. Back then, the word die was, let's just say, a very common euphemism for sexual climax. So yeah, this is not just friendship. We're talking about an intense, all-consuming passion that is about to become politically explosive. And right away, this relationship creates a massive, fundamental conflict. You see, a king is supposed to be the symbol of stability, right? His job is to balance the nobles, protect the whole country. But Edward? He's driven by one thing and one thing only, Gaveston. He's showering his favorite with titles, completely ignoring his advisors, and even seizes church property for him. It's like the desires of the man are on a total collision course with the duties of the king.
Okay, we're talking about the king's forbidden love and the fury it unleashes. And let's be clear, this isn't some private affair. It becomes a full-blown public crisis almost instantly. Edward's obsession with Gaveston, it doesn't just annoy the court. No, it completely destabilizes the entire structure of power in England.
I mean, the way Edward shows his favor is it's immediate and it's shocking. He gives Gaveston all these titles, Earl of Cornwall, Lord High Chamberlain. He basically makes a guy of lower birth one of the most powerful men in the entire country, like overnight. Now, for the established barons, whose power is all tied to their family and their bloodline, this isn't just an insult. It is a direct threat to the entire social order.
And Edward proves he will fight anyone for his favorite. When the powerful Bishop of Coventry dares to object, what does Edward do? He doesn't just scold him. Oh no, he has the man publicly humiliated, stripped of his robes, his wealth confiscated. It is a stunning, stunning display of recklessness. He's not just ticking off the nobility anymore, now he's making a powerful enemy out of the church itself.
So, we've got the Barons' Rebellion and this cycle of exile. And yeah, unsurprisingly, the nobility decides they have had enough. They feel ignored, they're insulted, and frankly, they're scared for the stability of the country. So they start to organize a formal opposition.
And listen, this isn't some minor little group complaining in a corner. This is the core of England's power structure. We're talking the Earl of Lancaster. That's the king's own cousin. The notoriously fierce Earl of Warwick and the super-ambitious Mortimers. This is a coalition with the money, the influence, and the soldiers to directly challenge the king. And believe me, they are not bluffing. Lancaster makes it crystal clear what the stakes are. He says he will sell off his own massive lands. We're talking 4 earldoms, just to pay for an army. The message couldn't be simpler. Either Gaveston is gone, or it's civil war.
So this whole conflict just devolves into this really destructive cycle. It's like a crazy back and forth. The barons use their power to force Gaveston's banishment. But the second the pressure is off, the king, in total defiance, just brings him right back. This pattern repeats itself, and every single time it happens, the king gets more stubborn and the barons get even more furious, pushing the entire kingdom right to the edge.
Okay, so as this whole political storm is raging, another powerful player starts to step out of the shadows and into the center of the fight. Edward's abandoned and totally humiliated wife, Queen Isabella.
I mean, what happens when a queen is abandoned for a king's favorite? Just think about her position for a second. Queen Isabella isn't just some random noblewoman. She is the sister of the King of France. Her marriage was a huge political deal, and yet Edward not only ignores her, he openly gives the wedding gifts from her own father to Gaveston. Can you imagine? He shames her in front of everyone, turning this powerful queen into an object of pity.
But that public humiliation, it just breeds private resolve. In its big confrontation with Gaveston, she calls him a villain who robbed her of her husband. And this isn't just the cry of a heartbroken wife, you know? This is a declaration of war. Her transformation from a passive victim into a cold, calculating political player has officially begun. She's realizing, okay, if I can't have the king's love, I'm going to fight for power. Since she has no allies in her husband's court, she goes out and forges her own. She finds a common cause with her husband's biggest enemy, the charismatic and totally ruthless young Mortimer, and their shared hatred of the king, it blossoms into a political and, as the play heavily implies, a romantic alliance. Together, they create this brand new power block, one that's driven by personal revenge and raw ambition, and it's going to prove way more dangerous than the barons ever were on their own.
All right, so the king is about to be dethroned. This is the fall from power. With the queen now leading the opposition with Mortimer, the conflict finally boils over. The kingdom just descends into open warfare, and Edward's reign starts to unravel with terrifying speed.
I mean, just look at how fast it all falls apart. First, the barons, led by Warwick, they capture Gaveston and they just execute him, right there, on the spot. It's pure vigilante justice. Then Isabella and Mortimer land in England with an army, and a country basically just melts away from Edward. All his supporters abandon him, and the king, once the most powerful man in the land, is now a hunted fugitive on the run for his life.
His running ends here, at Kenilworth Castle. He's a prisoner, and a delegation shows up with an ultimatum. They tell him, you can resign the crown to your own son, or we will disinherit him completely and just pick a new king from outside the family. I mean, it is the ultimate humiliation.
And this moment, it captures his agony perfectly. He literally struggles to let go of the crown, the actual symbol of his entire identity, of his divine right to rule. He's begging God to make him hate the power that he's losing. In that one instant, King Edward is gone. He's just Edward now, a man stripped of absolutely everything.
But his suffering is far from over. He gets moved to Berkeley Castle and handed over to even crueler jailers. They keep him in a dungeon, basically a sewer where all the castle's filth collects, and they just torment him, trying to break his spirit before they finally break his body.
But here's the thing. As long as Edward is alive, he's still a symbol for anyone who supports him. And Mortimer, who's now pretty much the ruler of England, he can't risk a rebellion. So he sends in an assassin, a guy named Lightbourne, with a secret order. Eliminate the problem, permanently, and make sure you leave no trace. And that's how it ends. Edward's tragic story closes not in some grand battle, but in a dark, disgusting dungeon. His final words are a plea to God, a moment of submission, right before he is murdered in one of the most gruesome ways ever put on a stage.
But the king's death doesn't bring peace. Oh no, this is Marlowe's world, where violence only ever breeds more violence. That great wheel of fortune that brought Edward down, well, it's still turning.
And now Mortimer has everything he ever wanted. He's ruling England as Lord Protector. He's got Queen Isabella right there with him. But you know what they say? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. He becomes a total tyrant, executing his enemies, grabbing their lands, and ruling with the exact same arrogance and self-interest that he supposedly hated in King Edward.
But he forgot one crucial detail. That little boy he put on the throne, well, he grew up. The young King Edward III sees the tyrant his mother's lover has become, and he stages a secret coup. He has Mortimer arrested for his father's murder and sentences him to death. And just like that, the cycle of revenge completes itself.
And so Marlowe leaves us with this final, haunting question. Was what happened to Mortimer really justice? Did it restore order to the country? Or was it just the next violent turn of fortune's bloody wheel? A final reminder that in the brutal game of power, today's winner is very often just tomorrow's victim.